Hey guys, I was thinking about one of the stories I used to tell on this channel before sometimes I like to have an opinion about current events, but I thought today maybe I would just tell you guys a story. About 2011, I ended up breaking my neck in a bicycle accident. And for 3 months, from the start of June till the end of August, I was trapped in a plastic collar and really wasn't able to do much. So I'd lost a lot of weight, wasn't feeling very well, and they had me taking these painkillers that I really disliked that made me feel funny. Well, my fiance had to go with the church group to Washington, D.C., so I was by myself for about 2 weeks. And this was the year that we had a really horrible drought here in Iowa. And the temperatures were upwards of 100 day after day after day with no rain. So I wasn't sleeping, and at 2 o'clock in the morning, I decided I was going to walk out of my apartment. I could barely walk, I had a cane. I was standing on the sidewalk in front of the building, and it started to drizzle. Just a little bit of drizzle, but that was more rain than we had had in months. So standing there close to the street, it was very quiet, 2 in the morning, like I said, and I hear this voice say to me, "Does your wife know that you're out here?" Well, I turned around, and sitting on the steps was my friend Larry, who would become my friend, I should say, sitting there having a cigarette, as Larry as he ever is. Well, Larry's the guy that you know that can fix anything. I think most of us have that person in our lives, whether it's auto mechanics, electrical work, plumbing work, woodwork. There really is nothing that he can't do, and I can't exaggerate that anymore. Well, he decided to help me into my apartment, took me to my bedroom, and my mattress was pretty crappy, and he pointed that out to me and said that tomorrow morning we were going to go at 9 o'clock to the furniture store here in town and buy a mattress. Now, Larry doesn't ever really ask you if you want to do something. He pretty much tells you that it's going to happen, and then it really does happen. So he picked me up at 9 o'clock, and we got into his 99 Dodge Ram pickup truck. Extended cab, black. The rockers were all rusted out. The step sides were rusted out. The bed was rusted. But it ran like a top. Over the years, we took a whole lot of trips in that truck. And by trips, I meant like to maybe a place that was an hour out of the way, because Larry likes to go to breakfast, so we would go to breakfast together, or we would go to a salvage yard to get parts for the truck, because again, like I said, it was so rusty that occasionally we needed to get a bumper for it. We changed out ball joints, tie rods, wheel bearings, the intake manifold, we had to change that out, the gasket started to leak a little bit of coolant, leaked oil, but it just kept running. They'd had that truck for a long time because his son, Heath, drove it at first and then sold it to his dad. I had a lot of really good memories with that pickup truck. And I always kind of thought that old black pickup truck was kind of like Larry. A little rough around the edges, had some problems, but yet the core of this vehicle was sound. It always started, it always went in gear, which says something because everybody knows that 90s Dodge transmissions were pretty crappy. And the whole time that I knew him driving this truck, which was about 15 years, it was the same transmission. But of course, Larry did all of this work. Now, Larry ended up coming into some money because of his family farm that they sold. And he now has I believe it's an 18 or a 19 Ford F-150, fully loaded. It's a beautiful truck, 5-liter V8, 10-speed automatic transmission, heated seats, cooled seats. He makes a joke with me that I really like those heated seats, but I do want a cold morning. And it's really nice, and he deserves to have a truck. Larry worked on a farm as a kid until he was an adult. And then he drove semi-trailers around the country. And then he ended up at a manufacturing job where he was an engineer here in Pella. So he's worked his butt off, and he deserves a nice vehicle. But I'm not going to say that I wasn't a little sad to see that Dodge go. Most people probably wouldn't have a fondness for a vehicle that's rusty and falling apart. But like I said, it reminded me a lot of its owner, you know, rough around the edges, but it sure got you where you wanted to go and could do just about anything. The last part of the story was my friend Joe that I've mentioned before, who had the black Honda. He had a Chevy Silverado, early 2000s. He was coming to Pella to visit from where he lives in Monroe, and he was on a dirt road, and it was pretty muddy, and he ended up going into a ditch. So I come to get Larry, and Larry, of course, is the guy that helps everybody. And we got in his old Dodge truck, and we went down to the road where Joe was, and he was half off the road in a ditch and half on the road. And I'm thinking, how are we going to get this truck out of this ditch? This old piece of crap Dodge truck isn't going to be able to pull that truck out of the ditch. Sure enough, Larry hooked up a chain and a ratchet strap, and he was able to pull the truck right out of the ditch. And kind of showed exactly, you know, what I've been talking about, that just because something is rough around the edges doesn't mean it doesn't have the ability to do what it's supposed to do. Well, at the end of this, I just want to say to everybody who's subscribed to this channel and who gets the updates that I really appreciate you. And I hope that you all have a really good holiday and have a Merry Christmas. And I also hope that all of you have somebody in your life that you can count on when the going gets tough. All right, thanks a lot, guys.